I've been a doula for many years, and I have a class of women teaching active birth yoga, and I started to see how easily spread confidence was, just one mother to the other, just literally by sharing very simple, practical things. It's not like amazing formula or something, or a vast amount of knowledge. It's just a few little things that can make all the difference. In terms of the book specifically, which is here, it came about because there was a woman came to my class. She had to be dragged, literally dragged. She walked into the class kind of like really like, oh my God, not her kind of thing at all. Thought it was very crunchy and sort of, you know, oh my God, this woman's going to talk about lavender oil, which I do, but you know, she was not wanting to go to a yoga class, persuaded to go by her neighbour. And within 3 sessions, she'd gone from saying, I just want a cesarean, a book cesarean, I want it over with, I don't want to feel anything. That she went from that to a very simple birth in a pool, in a dark, quiet, safe space, in a birth centre. And when I went round to say goodbye to her, because I'd been supporting her, she gave me this big diary, sort of notepad, and she said, put in there everything you told me, what all those other women told me, what you've gathered over the years, and I'll design it and make it as a little pamphlet for you for the class. And it went from a pamphlet to up, took us, she went back to South Africa, and we just kept swapping emails and information, and she built it, and this is it. And what the book basically, it's divided into 3 sections, like getting ready, the birth itself, and life with a newborn. The first section is absolutely key because it's like any house that you build, it needs a really solid foundation, and I think that's what's really missing, is that women it's not that they've forgotten what to do. It's not that it's lost what they've got to do, it's that they've forgotten, if you like. They don't know how to prepare in a sense anymore. And there's not many resources, not many really practical resources. And it's almost as if, you know, you can... Well, people think the midwives are going to tell you. I think that's often the problem. You go to midwife appointments, people assume a midwife's going to tell you how to have a baby, teach you about labour. And then I think people also assume a couple of classes at the end of pregnancy is going to suffice. But you need to ready yourself through pregnancy. There are 9 months. And in this book, the first section, which is called On Preparing, it really goes through all the things, you know, gathering good birth stories, walking, being healthy, eating well, going to a yoga class, getting your mindset realistically positive. It's not sort of setting yourself up for failure. It's actually justifiably positive because you've got about a 90% chance of a normal birth. So that's the first section. Then there's about birth, and there's lots of really simple things like, got my little hot water bottle. Even something as simple as this, most women on the labour ward currently, as we sit here now, people in labour will not even have so much as a hot water bottle. Something as silly as that has just been lost. Or how to breathe, you know, right down to the very bottom of you when you've got a contraction, how to breathe well, deeply, slowly, evenly. Running a bath, something as simple as that. You might get people sort of know about these things, but they don't know how to put it together and feel sure, you know. And then the final section is life with a newborn, which is, you know, trying to give people a healthy set of expectations, realistic set of expectations about what it's like to have a baby. What I'm sort of proud about this book is it's sort of birth by bite-sized chunks. It's like each page is a piece of information. And for example, there's a section on soothing, just simple soothing. How do you soothe a baby? We've kind of arrived at a point in history where people are quite unsure. It sort of seems amazing that we don't know how to soothe a child, but it's because we don't see it. We're also isolated in our little homes and we don't have a community of women around us or our families often. And so it's little simple things, you know, how do you actually get a baby to sleep? You know.
But, your book is very approachable. It's not like an instruction manual, as in, you know, so you could there's countless books out there, but your book is unique and it's incredibly readable, easy to understand. And it's, you know, you can easily get through it, easily refer to it constantly. And just what's different about your book, really?
Yes, I think, well, I called it How to Have a Baby Mother Gathered Guidance. on birth and new babies, because I didn't want it to be like another expert. You know, it's like, I'm not trying to be an expert. I know I've edited it and put it together and collated it, but it's actually, never can there be more of an anthology. You know, it's a gathering of all the things I've learned, yes, through supporting, but also things that women have told me, other doulas have told me, midwives have told me. So we're trying to remember that forgotten knowledge. So I think that's why it's approachable, because it's not coming from some high ground. It's that, you know, birth is very democratic, incredibly universal, and it's sort of been turned into this, as if it's some sort of special encrypted mystery. Your body is a mystery to you, and birth is a mystery, and the knowledge about it can only be imparted by medical professionals, and this isn't true. You know, you just need to talk to people. The problem is that the women who have had positive birth experiences, they are thin on the ground nowadays, for the reasons we said, that effectively, you know, by industrialising birth, really, by making it a process rather than an experience, you know, inevitably women now have difficult time. But there are still women out there who have had completely normal, straightforward experiences, and it's trying to find them and listen to their stories and copy them, basically. I mean, imitation rather than information, I call it. Just imitate, copy. I remember somebody told me once, if you want to do something, find someone who's done it and copy them. It's not complicated, is it? You do that, you would prepare in that way if you're climbing a mountain or something, or running a race. You go and train with people who know how to do that. And it's just find somebody, if you want a positive birth experience, and let's not forget 75% of women want a kind of let nature do its thing birth. The problem is that we don't look for the right models, you know, and we don't find, I mean, how this book also started was that I found two friends who'd had simple births, and I just took them out for dinner and grilled them and said, just give me your best tips. And I just took them with me into my births and into my work, and they've always stayed with me. And I think people just sort of dismiss that kind of basic homespun knowledge as if it's, I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely, it's a directory of homespun knowledge. I mean, you told me to
directory of homespun.
You told me to take lavender oil. That's the only thing I.
Oh really? Did you find that helpful?
It was the only thing I had for.
Somebody did write to me recently who read it, and they said that it felt like they could just sort of cut it out, stick it on the fridge, and go tick tick. I know I need that. I know I need that. And particularly for husbands, partners, birth partners, it gives them a kind of really quick way to act and go, because it's all quite common sense, you know. It's like, you know, just creating a very quiet, dark, warm space. It just feels right. It just have to be reminded to do it, you know. Or for example, not stand over somebody who's in labour and stand there timing them with a contraction app. But it's not going to help a lot. You know, you need to go and fill a hot water bottle, gently put it in place on their back so that it feels soothing. Make them a chamomile tea. Run a bath without asking, you know, and just gently lead them to it. Many, 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 many things you can do. I mean, the thing I think I want to emphasise is, you know, how we've been kind of sold a bit of a myth, you know, that birth isn't safe. I mean, that drive in the 70s to convince women, I mean, whether it was deliberate or not, you know, that has created such a massive piece of, not misinformation, disinformation. I mean, it's really wrong that women are doing this massive, magnificent act, this amazing thing that's going to happen to them, all informed by what is effectively not true. You know, that birth by and large is a really dangerous activity and you need rescuing from it. It's just not true. Where we're really lucky is we don't want to be 100 years ago when we had no amazing obstetricians on hand. We've now got standardised, gold standard antenatal care and assessment for all women. Hooray, these are the things that took everything forward and why birth is so safe. But what we have to kind of go back is we threw the baby out with the bathwater and we lost all the little bits that actually made women feel like they were also the experts, you know?